Are you the person everyone calls when things fall apart, but you have no one to call yourself? Being the reliable one can feel like a superpower. You're trusted, you're needed, people know they can count on you. But there is a side of reliability that rarely gets talked about. What happens when being dependable stops being something you do and becomes who everyone expects you to be? Because when people repeatedly see you as the person who can handle everything, they may stop noticing when you need help too. And eventually, you may start doing the same thing to yourself. You become so focused on being there for everyone else that you stop asking a very important question. What do I actually need? This is where the psychological cost begins. Being reliable is not unhealthy. In fact, responsibility, cooperation, and helping others are generally associated with healthy social functioning. The problem begins when helping becomes automatic, when saying yes becomes easier than saying no, and when your sense of worth becomes closely connected to being useful to other people. At first, it can feel good. Someone has a problem and you solve it. Someone is confused and you give them advice. Someone is overwhelmed and you step in. Each time you help, you may experience a sense of competence and connection. Helping can be rewarding because human beings are deeply social. We generally feel better when we believe we matter to other people. But there's a psychological trap hidden inside this pattern. The more consistently you solve problems for people, the more likely they are to expect you to solve them again. Think about it. If you're always the person who organizes the plans, people eventually stop organizing them themselves. If you're always available when someone needs emotional support, they may automatically turn toward you the next time they're struggling. If you've always handled difficult situations calmly, people may assume you'll continue to handle them. Nobody necessarily sits down and decides, let's put everything on this person's shoulders. It usually happens gradually. A pattern forms, and once a pattern becomes familiar, people begin to rely on it. This is one reason highly dependable people can end up receiving more requests, more responsibilities, and more emotional demands than others. Their reliability has become evidence that they can handle more. And there's something deeply unfair about that. The reward for being dependable can sometimes be being given even more to dependably handle. But the psychological burden isn't only about the number of tasks, it's also about what happens inside your mind. Imagine that several people in your life regularly come to you with their problems. One person wants advice about a relationship. Another is worried about work. Someone else is dealing with a family problem. You listen, think about possible solutions, and try to support them. Then you go back to your own life. But their problems don't necessarily disappear from your mind when the conversation ends. You may continue thinking about what they told you. You may wonder whether they're okay. You may replay the conversation and think about what you should have said. This is where the idea of cognitive load becomes important. Our mental capacity is limited. When we continuously devote attention to other people's problems, decisions, emotions, and needs, that mental activity competes with the attention we need for our own lives. And if you're constantly doing this, something strange can happen. You can become extremely good at understanding what everyone else needs, while becoming less clear about what you need. You know when your friend is upset. You notice when someone's mood changes. You can tell when tension is building in a room. You know exactly how to make other people comfortable. But when someone asks you, "What do you want?" you might not have an immediate answer. That's not because you don't have preferences. It's because you've spent so much time directing your attention outward that checking in with yourself has become less familiar. And for some people, this outward focus can become a habit. Before anyone even asks for help, you're already thinking about what they might need. You notice the silence in someone's messages. You worry that something is wrong. You feel responsible for keeping the peace. You try to prevent problems before they happen. This constant monitoring can become mentally exhausting, and eventually, being attentive to everyone else's emotional state can start to feel like a responsibility rather than a choice. Then something else begins to happen. Your boundaries become less clear. Maybe someone calls you late at night, and you answer even though you don't want to. Maybe someone asks for a favor when you're already exhausted, and you say yes. Maybe you cancel your own plans because someone else needs you. One time doesn't seem like a big deal. Neither does the second, or the fifth. But repeated compromises can create a pattern where your own needs consistently come last. And here's where resentment often enters the picture. Resentment doesn't necessarily mean you don't care about people. Sometimes it means you've been giving more than you're genuinely willing to give, while feeling unable to say so. You say yes out loud, while internally wishing you could say no. You help, but feel frustrated that nobody seems to notice the cost. You tell everyone you're fine, and secretly wonder why nobody asks if you're actually fine. This creates an uncomfortable contradiction. You may be angry at other people for expecting too much from you, but at the same time, you may feel guilty for being angry because you were the one who kept saying yes. And that's an important distinction. Other people can have unrealistic expectations, but if you never communicate your limits, they may not know where those limits are. Silence can easily be interpreted as willingness. And when you repeatedly make yourself available, people may reasonably come to believe that you're comfortable with the arrangement. That's why boundaries aren't simply about telling other people what they can't do. They're also about communicating what you can and cannot realistically give. This becomes even more complicated in the modern digital world. Being reliable used to mean showing up when someone needed you. Now it can mean being reachable almost all the time. A message arrives, you see it. Someone knows you're online. Another notification appears, another question, another request. And because communication is so easy, the expectation of availability can become almost invisible. You may not be physically doing anything for someone, yet your mind remains partially occupied by the possibility that someone might need you. That's not sustainable. Human attention needs periods of recovery, and when your attention is constantly directed toward other people, your own mental space becomes smaller. But perhaps the deepest cost of always being reliable is not exhaustion, it's loneliness. And that might sound strange. How can someone who is constantly surrounded by people feel lonely? Because being needed is not the same as being known. People may know you as the person who gives advice, the person who stays calm, the person who fixes things, the person who never gives up. But do they know what scares you? Do they know when you're overwhelmed? Do they know what you need when you're having a difficult day? Sometimes, the person everyone trusts with their problems is the same person who doesn't feel safe showing their own. And this can create a very particular kind of isolation. You become the person others come to for vulnerability. While you become increasingly uncomfortable showing vulnerability yourself, you might think, I can't fall apart. People depend on me. So, you keep functioning, you keep answering, you keep helping, you keep saying, don't worry, I've got it. Until eventually, even the people closest to you may have no idea that you're struggling. Not necessarily because they don't care, but because you've become exceptionally good at hiding the struggle. And when you finally decide to change this pattern, something interesting can happen. You say no. You don't answer immediately. You tell someone, I can't do that today. And suddenly, the reaction may surprise you. Someone might become disappointed. Someone might ask, what's wrong with you? Someone might say, you never used to be like this. But think about what that really means. It doesn't necessarily mean you've become selfish. It may simply mean that you've changed a pattern that everyone had become accustomed to. When a person changes their role in a group, the group has to adjust. And adjustment can be uncomfortable, especially for people who had become dependent on the old pattern. This is why setting boundaries can initially feel wrong even when the boundary itself is reasonable. You're not only changing your behavior, you're challenging an identity that you've practiced for a long time. So what happens now? Do you stop helping? Do you become unavailable? Do you stop being the reliable person? No. The goal isn't to become less caring. It's to become more intentional. Instead of automatically responding, pause. Before saying yes, ask yourself, do I actually have the time for this? Do I have the emotional capacity? Am I helping because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid of disappointing them? And perhaps the most important question, if I say yes to this, what am I saying no to in my own life? Sometimes the answer will still be yes, and that's perfectly fine. Healthy boundaries don't mean refusing everyone. They mean that your yes actually means yes. Not guilt, not fear, not obligation disguised as kindness. And sometimes you need to let people experience a little disappointment, not to punish them, not to test them, but because disappointment is a normal part of relationships. You cannot make everyone happy without constantly sacrificing yourself. And if a relationship can survive only when you're endlessly available, endlessly useful, and endlessly accommodating, that's important information about the relationship. The people who genuinely value you should be able to value you even when you're tired, even when you say no, even when you need help, even when you aren't solving anything for them. Because your value as a person should never depend on how much weight you can carry for everyone else. You are not only the person who fixes the problem. You're also the person who gets tired, the person who has fears, the person who needs support, the person who sometimes doesn't know what to do. And perhaps that's the part of yourself you've been forgetting. You don't have to earn your place in people's lives by constantly proving how useful you are. You can be loved without being needed every minute. You can be respected without always being available. And you can be reliable without making yourself responsible for everyone. So if you're the person everyone calls when things fall apart, maybe the goal isn't to stop being someone's safe place. Maybe the goal is to make sure you have a safe place too. Because real strength isn't carrying everything alone. Sometimes, real strength is finally admitting that you don't have to. If this video helped you understand something about yourself or someone in your life, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed discovering the psychology behind everyday human behavior, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Mind Groom. Here, we're trying to discover the science behind human behavior, one thought, and one psychological pattern at a time. Until next time, stay curious and keep looking beneath the surface.